With your favorite Amazon device, like the Echo or Kindle Fire, you can now listen to Pawprint using your voice. All you have to say is,
Alexa,
then right after that, say these words.
play the Pawprint Animal Rescue Podcast.
Getting the latest episode of Pawprint Animal Rescue. Here it is from iHeartRadio.
This is Pawprint, an animal rescue community, episode 162. I'm Nancy Rhee.
And I'm Harold Rhee.
Today's amazing guest is Dr. Danielle Boyd.
People just want to express their thanks,
Thanks for listening.
as well as tell me their rescue stories. And I think
This is Pawprint, an animal rescue community, episode 163. I'm Nancy Rhee.
And I'm Harold Rhee.
Today's guest is Soledad Robledo.
We need to educate, especially children, to understand that animals need to be respected, that if you get a dog or a cat or a bunny, you need to respect and you need responsibilities.
We are so excited to have Soledad Robledo on the show today. She hails from Rinconada, Chile, and was inspired by Pawprint to start her own animal rescue podcast. You can check out her podcast on your favorite podcast app. It's called Narices Humedas, which means wet noses in Spanish. If you want to learn more about Soledad, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/163.
My family and I have adopted 4 dogs, and that has been a wonderful experience. And after that, I started making myself questions, maybe because next year I will turn 50, what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I knew that animals were a great part of my life. So I tried to do different things. I tried to teach at a school, to teach children and teenagers how to respect animals. And after that, I also worked. I worked on some demonstrations about animal rights. But I was looking for my thing. I knew that I needed to do something, but I was not sure what. So as I love listening to the radio, I love listening to podcasts. One day I Googled animal rescue and I found your show. This is Pawprint. And I just loved it. And I started listening from episode 1, all your shows. And then it was like in November, I think, that I said, you know what? I'm going to do my own podcast.
Yay!
And the truth is, Harold, that as I told you in my email, that Nancy, your work, this is Pawprint. This is what inspired me. So your show inspired me to start my own podcast.
I'm such in shock that you even say that. So thank you.
But it's true, Harold, because what I think is that people who say that love animals, we try to do things, but I you always want to do more and more, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think that podcasting is a great way to convey the message of animal rescue, especially in my country where animal rescue is growing. Or maybe it's starting, actually.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more. So what has been your experience in where you live?
You mean the experience of the podcast?
Maybe let's just start first with the animals. What is it like to be a dog or a cat or another animal in the Chile area?
So, it's pretty hard. I would say pretty hard because here in Chile, it's very common to see animals, especially dogs, on the streets. You see them in parks, by bus stops, next to the newsstands. They're a part of the cityscape, of the landscape. So we see that as something normal. And actually, it's not normal because, unfortunately, we don't have official statistics but I have read that there are around 1.5 million stray dogs along the country. And that is very serious, because that means that we are not we're not doing the right things for animals. But luckily, things have been changing, probably because of the internet, globalization, maybe people are traveling more, knowing other realities. So I would say that, I don't know, animals became a thing like in the newspapers, on the internet around 10 years ago. Little by little, you would see, I don't know, organizations adopting, rescuing animals. You would see people working in advocacy, animal advocacy. So it has been changing bit by bit. And I think that the turning point was last year. Sadly, there was a dog called Chalito that was killed, and that caused national commotion. People went out to the streets to protest, and the pressure was so much that the government, the Congress, passed a bill about animals, right? And actually, the bill, the new law, the animal law, it's called Chalito, after this dog that unfortunately was killed.
So what exactly happened to Chalito?
Chalito lived in Santiago, in the capital city of Chile, and he lived in a place where there are many shops, many stores, and he was a neighborhood dog. That means that, well, he lived on the street, but people would give him food, water, pet him, but he was part of the street. And the owner of a shop. He was very fond of Chalito. He would give him food and water, but the owner of that shop moved away, and Chalito remained on the streets. And another person moved to that shop to start her business, and she was tired of the dog, and she had the terrible idea of getting rid of the dog. So she called a couple of people and had the dog killed, because she was upset that the dog was outside her shop, not making her have a normal business. And somebody took a photo, somebody, I don't know, recorded something, but this became a big thing in the news. Everybody was so upset. And that's what happened because of Chalito. He was our hero. He had this terrible thing happen to him that really shook up our country. And that made us think, you know what? We don't want this anymore. We need a better law. And actually, because of that, we have this new animal law in Chile.
That really shows that one act, whether good or bad, can really make a difference, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. After that, that was the milestone, I think, here in about the way that we see animals. It was that social media, and I guess that now, little by little, we're heading towards the right direction.
From your perspective, I mean, what more can be done as far as maybe new laws or new attitudes?
Absolutely. I think, well, there is plenty work to be done. Well, first thing is education. We need to educate, especially children, to understand that animals need to be respected, that if you get a dog or a cat or a bunny, you need to respect and you need responsibilities. That is one thing. We need to educate our population, especially our children. Second, we need to strengthen the campaign of spaying and neutering. We need to do that because unfortunately, there's still many people who think, oh, I want to have more puppies. I want to make my children see the experience of life. So there are many myths that need to be debunked, and we need to understand that dogs and cats need to be spayed and neutered, because if they're out on the streets, they start the number of stray dogs and cats start growing and growing. And the third thing is that it's very important is the law. The law has to be strict. It has to be clear that we cannot abuse, we cannot neglect animals. So I think that a combination of education, spaying and neutering, and strong laws would make our reality here much, much better.
Great. Well, so well said. Thank you. And here in the United States, I feel like it's the exact same thing. We have so much more to do when it comes to education. Spay and neuter is a constant struggle. And here in the United States, we have 50 states. So, the problem, for better or for worse, is that in order to improve animal laws, we need to fix the laws in 50 states, which obviously can get very, very complicated.
Absolutely. You're a very big country, but here we have the advantage that Chile is a small country. We are around 18 million people. So, I mean, we can reach the country. I think that basically and I think that is, we're doing that because especially with younger people, when you talk to young people, they know that they need to respect animals. Probably where we see people that are not into that are maybe adults, people probably who didn't receive the education or are not sensitive to animals. But especially I'm very hopeful when it comes to, young people. I think that young people will change things. We as people who love animals, we can, do things. And through that, by that way, we can, make pressure and try to make everybody see that in the end, if we treat animals well, we become a better society.
Well said. Switching gears, how has the journey of becoming a podcaster been for you? At last count, I think you've released maybe is it how many episodes? About 7 or 8 episodes is what I see.
Right, that's right. Yes, right. 8 episodes, Sarah. Yes. Well, the journey has been wonderful. First, because of internet, you have lots of information. So you start reading this and that. And I also been very lucky because I have had the support of my family. So my son helped me with the sound. He helped me choosing the right equipment, the recorder, the editing, right? My husband is taking the pictures of the guests. So I feel very, very supported. And on the other hand, when you speak to people, it's so beautiful because most people, when you tell them, you know what, I'm doing this, would you like to be on my show? Most people, they're so happy to be interviewed because they feel they have the opportunity to express their experiences, their projects. So that has been so great that you see that there's so many people out there that are doing wonderful things. But unfortunately, the media always, covers or wants to show the negative things, this and that, the horrible stuff. And the great things are never, highlighted. So I'm meeting more and more people that are doing wonderful things, and they want to be on the show.
Oh, that's great. So who did you think about as your first few guests?
Well, my first few guests have been great. The first person that I interviewed, Pilar, she was one of the first people that I met that was in this beautiful world of animal rescue. and she works on spaying and neutering campaigns in vulnerable sectors of our society. So she explained the long journey she has traveled to get where she is now. She has spayed, I mean, with her team, I don't know, over 5,000 dogs and cats in Chile. And that is incredible because, again, we don't have that culture in the spaying and neutering culture in Chile yet. There was another very interesting guest. All of them have been interesting, but was another lady called Monica that she told me, you know, Soledad, I was in my early 60s. I was a little bit sad. And you know what? Animal rescue changed my world around. Now I'm rescuing animals, I'm coordinating adoptions. And that was so wonderful to see how animals can change a person's life for the better. And also there is another young man called Thomas that also he is doing something incredible. He did something incredible. He filmed a documentary on all those homeless dogs in our country. And the documentary is so beautiful, so moving. And he told me about the process of filming this, of financing his work, which of course was very, very difficult. And that was also a very, I think, for me, moving story about animal rescue.
The name of your podcast has a beautiful name, Narices Humedas. Could you maybe describe to folks how did you develop that name and what does it mean in English?
Actually, Narices Humedas is wet noses. And I came up with that name because, well, my son who works on the internet, he's a web developer, told me, Mom, you shouldn't come up with a name like Animal Heart or Animal Rights. You have to choose something more, innovative, So I said, wow, that is kind of difficult. Okay, so I started to brainstorming, and I came to this name, Wet Noses, Narices Humedas, because there was a Disney movie that I don't remember the name in English, but it was about these 101 dogs.
Yeah, I think in English we call it 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah, exactly, right. Because in Spanish was called Narices Frías, that is cold noses. So I said, maybe I can, give it a turn, So I said, that name is kind of catchy, and it has this explanation about dogs that usually their noses are wet. So I came up with that name.
Beautiful, beautiful name. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So how have you been spreading the word? Any sort of feedback initially? Yeah,
well, that's the thing. Spreading the word, I think, is critical because you need to. You have the show, you have the project, but of course, if you don't have any listeners, the project won't work. So now what I'm doing is, I'm getting my Facebook created. I'm also trying to get some interviews, with local newspapers or magazines or local radio stations. And I think with that, with social media, with a little bit of media of the support of some newspapers and radio stations, I can get I can spread the word. But I have had very nice feedback. People say that it's a very, very good idea. People among the animal rescue community say that it will help other people motivate themselves to help, to donate, to adopt. And, that is wonderful because people, and I remember you said that, Harold, you said, people, we need good storytellers. So I think that people want to hear stories, good stories about animals, and who knows, that can motivate them to do something for the animals.
Amen. Hallelujah. Yes, thank you for thank you for saying
Oh,
that.
Carol.
So when you think about what you want to try to accomplish this year, how many episodes do you want to try to release? Are there any special people that you would love to interview?
Yes, of course. Well, my idea is that I want to be very consistent. I'm trying to be very consistent with my podcast. So every week, my podcast will be released, and of course, I'm really serious about this. So I'm going to do it. I mean, I'm going to do it. I want to reach March or April once the show turns 1 year old, and see how is it going, because I know I have to work and work, spread the word. So I'm really very, I'm into this. I'm really gonna give it 100%. Although I work, but I'm a freelancer, so I have that flexibility that I can organize my time, to for my work and for my podcast. And also I have, well, there are many people that I've contacted or that I want to interview. One of them is a lawyer who actually was one of the the people responsible in making this new law for animals. I've talked to her. She has some very interesting, proposals, great experiences, and she is focusing not only on dogs and cats, but also on horses, on circus animals. So I think she will be a great guest.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and also I want to interview. Also, I would like to interview farm sanctuaries. There are not so many in our country, but little by little they're starting to pop up. There's one animal sanctuary that it's near here I live in the fifth region, and I would like to interview them because they have, I don't know, horses, cows, pigs, and I think that could create an impact among the community, because we usually think, oh, we have to look after dogs and cats, but there are more and more animals we should respect and look after. So those, I guess, are the guests I'm looking forward to interview.
If you had one wish, or if you had a magic wand, what do you think you would do to change animal rescue?
I think I would like to have a, a real humane world, that all of us, children, adults, everybody, we would respect each other, that we would understand that the planet is one, that we should respect the environment, plants, trees, and especially animals. I wish that all of us respected animals, that we understood that they're not things, they're not objects. They have feelings. They want to live. They can be hungry. They can be thirsty. That all of us would understand, all of us, that they need our respect.
Why do you think you're doing this podcast? What is it about you, or what is it about animals that makes you want to do this?
Well, I really love animals. I mean, from us since I was a child, my parents always taught me that animals were beautiful, and I love animals, and I would like to transmit that love to other people, because it really makes me upset. It really makes me sad when I see, I don't know, dogs on the streets, that they're cold, they're hungry, or people who neglect, who abuse their animals. That is something for me that is really unspeakable. So instead of getting sad or depressed, I believe in doing things. So I think by doing this project, by doing this podcast, I am helping my community to realize that animals are important. So that's what I'm doing this, and I feel very happy because I think that all of us can help with little things, with just, we don't need to make these big things like a $1 million donation, or no, just by doing this or that, we can create a better society. We can, in my case, I would love to have a country that it's better, not only in terms of its money, of its economy, but also in the way that we as a country treat the animals.
Wow. Well, we're speaking to Soledad Robledo. She is the host of her own podcast in Chile called Narices Humedas, also known as Wet Noses. So how can folks find your podcast? How can folks find you, whether it's social media or a website?
Now I have my web page that is called nariceshumedas.cl. You can also reach me by email, programa nariceshumedas@gmail.com, and you can also listen to my show on SoundCloud.
We want to say thank you to Soledad Robledo for sharing her story. Make sure to look up Narices Humedas, NARICES HUMEDAS, and share it with your Spanish-speaking friends. If you want to learn more about today's episode, go to thisispawprint.com/163. If you'd like to learn more about me and Nancy, follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram. This is Pawprint is our handle. All the music you hear on today's episode is performed, composed, and produced by the amazing Luke Gartner Brereton. Find him at info.vanillagroovemedia.com. We just want to say thank you to all of you for sharing Pawprint with your friends and family. We've been listened to in over 130 countries and territories, and we could not have done it without your support. And remember, you spread a message of love and peace by saving an animal. Have a great day, everyone, and see you next time on Pawprint.
Pawprint is a production of EVER Education.
You can't handle the truth.